Hello boys and girls, it's me again, Tony Sixswing here at Sixswing Productions, doing another video where it's not the podcast, not reaction. Real quick before I get into the depth and meat of this video, where I'm going to talk about how we got to this point with the economy, because, why would we want to take care of the economy? I decided that I'm gonna let you guys know about some stuff. One, the Patreon. I have removed a bunch of rewards of things that I am planning to add back in later in order to make things better. So I haven't really gotten the web series and stuff worked out yet. I don't know what the Let's Plays are going to be, but, all that stuff. You can smack the like button so I can get some retention and all that stuff. Stick around for my opinion on this. Please leave a comment if you disagree with me in the comment sections below. Don't just leave a dislike. I'd like to improve. I'd like to have a discussion. There is an email. You guys can email me directly at sixstringproductions@yahoo.com. Why do I use Yahoo? Because Gmail is a pain to me, and I'm just used to Yahoo. I know at my age, most people use Gmail, and a lot of companies think that's unprofessional to not use Gmail. I really don't get it. But what I do get is that people are morons. So, I did a little bit of a scripting. I'm not all that great at reading aloud. I do a lot of stumbling through my words, so I'm really just gonna kind of go off my script a little bit and kind of see how I can explain what's going on. Okay. The COVID-19 shutdown did not cause the current financial problem. It simply made it happen sooner than it was going to happen anyways. Now, mind you, the amount of dollars per hour and the rate of pay is what I've seen in my area with doing work searches of jobs that I could actually get myself, or maybe get. And many of these jobs still wouldn't call me back. Most of them are temp. Most of them do not even publish what they're paying an hour. And when you go in, you have to go through a temp agency to find out you're getting that $10 an hour I'm going to be talking about here. Maybe 11, maybe 12, but it's still not enough to live on unless you want to live in the ghetto and have to worry about getting yourself shot every night when you get home just by walking by. This is the situation we are in America. We've been in it for years. Stagnant wages, inflation causing wages to actually decrease, increasing amount of rent. But I'm going to go into all that while we do this video. So yeah, it's not the virus. The virus did not cause the economic problems. It's other circumstances that caused this to happen, caused us to be susceptible to this happening. Because if we had been smart, if businesses hadn't been greedy, and people hadn't decided to go into a ton of debt, which some of it you'll see was necessary due to the greed of businesses and the high cost of living and other things that I will be going into. Essentially, we were all forced in this idea, and the economy is built on debt, and that is the crux of our problem. There is no such thing as good debt. Okay? Debt means you owe someone else money. That debt means your assets are tied up in liens that someone else holds against you, and you have to pay interest on that money. You may say, well, I'm making more money off this than what the interest payment is, so I'm actually making money. No. You are in debt, which means if something happens to what's making you that money, you are still liable. So you don't want to increase your liabilities. But companies do that. But anyways, I should get to the script here before I get too off on a tangent and I lose you guys completely. So here's what we have. In the 1970s, American companies started to outsource a lot of their workforce. These outsourcing were down to pennies on the dollar. Now, mind you, in the 1970s, people made what we're making now in the manufacturing industry, and it was considered good pay. You could raise a family on $9 to $10 an hour. That was the 1970s. But they moved that manufacturing to China to pay pennies on the dollar for their manufacturing costs, laying off a ton of jobs. And that started a downward trend in the economy because less jobs equals less spending money. Some people were able to survive because you could start your own business, you could do this, do that, and there wasn't that much regulation keeping the small guy out. Big business has caused much of the small business issues. Now, I'm not against big business. All big businesses were at one point a successful small business. You always start somewhere. So to say I hate big business is to say I never want the mom and pop shop down the road to grow into multiple locations, make billions of dollars, and become successful. No, that's not what I'm saying. Big business has its place. And there are hundreds of small businesses that support the big businesses locally through local services such as lawn care, electrical work, stuff like that, that you always contract out to small local businesses because it's cheaper than bringing in the national guy. So, here's what we have going on. Your average manufacturing job that pays more than your average retail or restaurant job. Granted, retail restaurant jobs are increasing pay right now due to a lack of workers. A lack of workers really does drive up wages in mandatory industries, but now they want to just automate. And I work in a factory. I could do a whole video on why automation is a bad idea. People don't maintain stuff. I'd rather see a human than have a bunch of oil and this stuff stuffed in my McDonald's. But we'll get into that. So, the typical person makes around $10 an hour. That's a typical person. We're not doing averages because there's this old argument. You have 3 people, one has $3 billion, 2 have nothing, the average person has $1 billion. Is essentially what you do when you do averages, because that's how math works. You add everyone up. So if there's a bunch of billionaires, you're going to have a large average income where your typical income is actually far smaller. So your typical income is looking between $1,200 and $1,440 a month. Minimum rent for a 1-bedroom apartment, not including utilities unless you get lucky. My uncle did get lucky and do $450, but he also had to do a car lot for his car because here in America we have a shitty public transportation system. Unless you live in the inner city, in the ghetto with that super cheap rent and the shooting, you or in a big metropolitan area, you probably are not finding a bus to work. And if you have to go to work, you got to get a taxi, and that's even more expensive than driving your own car. So these numbers are from middle America. Anyways, so with that $1,200, you got $500 a month in rent. The typical car payment is between the average car payment is $391 and $554 per month. Mine's $250, but that's because I got it from a local guy whom we knew, and I was able to get a good deal and a good rate and put a bunch of money down by getting some family to help me out. But the typical car payment is because the average American cannot afford to fix their car. So what happens? They trade in the busted car for another car payment, and it rolls over, increasing the debt on the new car at most likely a buy here, pay here place with an ungodly interest rate. And that's how you get that $391 to $554 a month. Not to mention that a lot of people fall into the trap of leasing their vehicles. A lease is rental, at the end of which you have to, if you put too many miles on it, you're paying extra because until the lease is up and you switch that to a traditional car loan or pay cash for the rest of the car, you are renting it with a loss thing. Essentially, you're paying more interest on that car than you would at a buy here, pay here place. And if you have a car loan, you're paying over $100 a month in car insurance because you have to have comprehensive coverage on that vehicle. Now, with all that being said, so between the car payment, comprehensive coverage, and rent, you're looking at you're at $991 minimum per month. Unless, like I said, you live in the shitty-ass part of town and you somehow found a car for $500. That's always breaking down. It costs you probably that much a month to keep it repaired. Hope you learn to fix cars. You can live on minimalism. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm just talking for day-to-day functioning in society on a manufacturing job. These are the numbers. So you also need a phone, a cell phone, whatever. You can get, pay-as-you-go plans, which can be cheaper, but you're looking at about $60 a month for a cell phone with a decent plan. You can get cheaper, but at a certain point, it becomes cut your losses and whatnot. But you're looking at around $11.51. Now, like I said, there are many ways to live cheaper. I know people who found ways to live even cheaper than this. So I'm going by typical. I'm not going by this is going to be what's going on and what is happening. Like I said, these are from my research, my numbers I put together here. Some of it is admittedly talking out of my ass, but I did a little bit of research and took what I've experienced to create this and the people I know's experience, because a lot of official stuff, there's averages, and the averages skyrocket how much money people have beyond what they actually have. So that's kind of my point here. But that leaves you with a whole $49 a month to pay for fuel and food. Personally, I spend about $60 a week on between fuel for my car and food. Now, granted, I live really far away from work, and I have a long commute to make $15 an hour. And I could probably save a little bit in gas, maybe $60 a month in fuel to work at another manufacturing place. But a lot of people in smaller metropolitan areas, I live in a moderate-sized city, and a lot of people have to drive a long way for work, and that's at $10 an hour, or they have to carpool. And it's not fun. Fuel is expensive. So you got to pay for car insurance, you got to pay for fuel, and you still have not paid your utility bill. Oh wait, no, the utility bill is with the 1151. So that's if you're paying for lights. I don't know, gas, water, whatever, trash. You need internet or ability to get to the library to apply for jobs, because most jobs don't let you apply in person on paper anymore. Wow. So we're essentially requiring people to have internet access. You have to have a cell phone. Well, you can apply on a cell phone, but you aren't going to be putting up a resume with it. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to have insurance. Now, a lot of this can be mitigated by bringing in roommates, living with family. I live with my dad to save money, because I was helping out my dad a lot over the last several years, and it put me in a lot of debt from trying to help him due to financial issues. Essentially, both of us been stupid with money, and I'm not going to sit here as a hypocrite and say, you shouldn't do that, I never do that. No, I say you shouldn't do that, I shouldn't do either. I'm just as guilty as you, but I'm learning my lesson, and I'm working my ass off to improve it. I'm trying to improve the YouTube channel, try to get some income and from Patreon, and I'm also doing Instacart. I'm looking at doing Uber. I work a full-time job that had its hours cut due to COVID-19, but I'm looking at doing those things to supplement that, and then I do this too. So I'm a very busy person. So, I'm working on getting myself out of debt. Can't be afraid of the hustle, but that's no way to live forever. That's a way to live when you're in debt, but once you're out of debt, that's no way to live. But with that being said, if you try and get out of debt and trying to make your ends meet at $10 an hour, you're going to be doing that hustle forever. Now, it's gone up. Now, I did some research while I was doing my script, and that came up to about $11 or $12 an hour. So you're looking at about $240 take home. I always cut a quarter out of your take home pay for taxes, because that usually turns out to it. Now it's at like 22% for me, but we all know it's going to go up, and it's been maxed out about 25% to me as soon as you get about $1,200 take home. So, because I go off take home. I don't go off of gross, because gross does not take out taxes. You do not keep your gross income. Do not say you make your gross income. You make $30-some thousand a year, you're making $22,000 a year. You got to take out taxes, because we all get stolen from by Uncle Sam. Now, let's say you want to go into the trades. You've heard, go into the trades. Well, wages are determined by supply and demand. There are not a lot of tradesmen, so the wages are high. If there are a lot of tradesmen, the wages are going to be minimum wage, and you're still going to need all this stuff to get into the trades. You will make a max of about $13 an hour unless you are a welder. That's right. The only people I've seen that make more than $13 an hour out the bat are welders or other high-risk trades. But even a starting electrical person, you have to have some of your own tools, you have to have already gotten some of your certifications, and you have to have already gone to 2 years of vocational school, community college. And you're in debt to that. You also have to have some of your own tools. You need your own truck. Unless you have a nice boss who will lend it to you or whatnot. You're essentially required to have your own equipment to make $13 an hour. If you want to go into the union, you have to take a 14-hour aptitude test to be put on a 2-year waiting list period to even be considered for possibly getting a job. Even at the end of 2 years, it's still not guaranteed. And you just had to take a week off from your regular job and lose a week's pay to get on a 2-year waiting list, and you know your boss might just say, oh, you want to take a week off? Okay, you don't have a job. So good luck getting into the union. The unions are a joke anyways. You end up making that much an hour anyways through the union, plus you have union's dues deducted. I make about $1,800 a month take home after taxes, insurance, stuff like that. And if I wasn't in debt, what I make a month in take home would be more than enough for me to live on my own as a single person even if I just bought a house. But you aren't raising a family on it. You need 2 people working in that household to raise a family on it. And that's the problem. Because now we've had to outsource our children's raising to the school system and daycare. Because people had kids they couldn't afford. Some had them they want them, but still couldn't afford them. And didn't teach them how to budget because, well, they didn't have time. They're tired after they get home from work. We had to outsource because of this to schools. And schools aren't teaching kids life lessons. They're teaching them algebra instead of balancing a checkbook. And telling them how they shouldn't go into the trades. They should go into the liberal arts. Because that's what the broke-ass teacher did. The economy is built on debt. And I'm going to go into that part now. The video's getting a little long, but yeah. Let's go into this part. And then we'll get finished up here. It's not that I don't want to do the video. It's that I don't want to drag this out. So I'm trying to tighten up my videos. So back to the topic. Students were sold the lie that STEM degrees are too hard to go into and that they're not really worth anything, that they're not a real job. And STEM degrees are science, technology, engineering, math. These degrees get you in the trades. Granted, as an IT professional, I would only be making $10 an hour right now with 5 years experience in a bachelor's degree at the help desk if I had finished my degree. Which I didn't because of family issues. But here's the total consumer debt in America. $13.86 trillion. So combined, Americans owe half of what the national debt is. The average person has $38,000 in personal debt, excluding their home if they have a mortgage. Now, I don't know if that personal debt includes student loans. I'm going to assume it doesn't, since not everyone has a student loan. But the average student loan is $32,000. So you're looking at students coming out of school who, due to lack of pay, lack of knowledge about how to manage finances, and some require debt because of low pay that people have to go into because they can't find a decent paying job because they don't exist, end up with $80,000 in debt combined. On average. Now, I'm sure there's a lot that are far less, a lot that are far more. I'm just saying on average. And that means they are netting approximately at the $1,440 or $12 an hour per month take home. They are netting. They are netting a minimum. Well, actually, probably a maximum of $22,500 a year. And their out-of-pocket living expenses, excluding debt that isn't the car payment, is $17,200 a year. Now, that $80,000 has interest. And it has payments. And each one of those payments, if they're $100 a month, that's another $1,200. That takes you to $1,840 out of pocket. And it just adds and adds and adds. And we have not really included food. That $17,200 a year does not include paying for food or fuel, because I didn't calculate that out because it's so different for everybody. But if you include food and fuel, you're looking at maybe having $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year to put towards your debts. So if you put that all towards your debts, no emergencies, no need to go further in the debt, and it was just your student loans, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year, you'd be out of debt in approximately 10 to 20 years, except there's interest on that, and you're actually $80,000 in debt once you get the debt ball rolling on taking on that debt because you had so little extra money and emergencies came up. Emergency came out. The car broke and I can't get it traded in, so I have to go apply for a credit card. This is how it happened. Now, how is it that the housing market's having an issue? We understand that the debt issue is a combination of poor spending decisions, poor wage structure in the country, and that corporate greed to go after the almighty stock price, which is inflated because of 401ks, has gone and leveraged the companies, taking on massive amounts of debt to the point that they have to borrow money to pay their payroll. In the docudrama about the housing crash, it turned out that GM couldn't finance their payroll because of what was going on with the housing. So because the banks were losing so much money with the housing, they couldn't borrow money to pay their employees. General Motors, this large company, and apparently many large companies finance getting their stuff and paying their employees, and they never have a plan to not be financing stuff, to get a cash reserve and then be a debt-free large company. A lot of small companies get to that point, and that's why they have such small profit margins. But they see, oh, we're making more money than the debt payments, so we're still profitable, so don't worry about the debt. It's good debt. It's liquidity debt. You're not liquidity. You're eliminating liquidity by being in debt. You're leveraging your company. Toys R Us was bought. It's a leverage buyout and then went bankrupt. Okay? Leveraging your company to try to increase your share price or to buy another company is a bad idea. It never works. At least it never works in the long term. And we combine that with landlords having mortgaged all of their rental properties to the point that they have to charge $500 a month for one bedroom apartment in a 20-unit complex, or they have to charge $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom house or 1-bedroom house or something like that, because they have to make a profit. They have to pay for the insurance on the property. They got to pay for the property tax. They got to pay for upkeep, and they're going to have that built into the cost of the rent plus some profit. So with all that being said, you can't really blame this on a virus, because we build an economy on wages that are not livable, consumer, student, and business debt, which made it impossible to just pause the economy and stop cash flow without bankrupting literally everybody. You realize that this was always going to happen at a certain point. Everything's in a bubble. The housing, the rentals, the credit cards, the student loans, the car payments, the used car payments that are the new subprime mortgage. Banks are addicted to interest, so they push you to get more debt, to take on more debt, so they can get more interest. It's not evil. It's greedy. And it's stupid for people to fall for it. The banks are doing what they need to do to make their money. That's how they make their money. But companies and people doing these actions out of greed because they think they can leverage their way into financial success is exactly how we got to this point. That and our minimum wage has not kept up with inflation. It would be at that $10 plus some an hour if it kept up from 1974. I went and did a calculator a while back, and I found out that in $1974, if we had kept it with inflation, the 1974 minimum wage would be at about 10 something an hour today, which means other wages would have been forced up. But wages stay down because no one fights for higher wages because they're afraid their job will get automated, outsourced. So companies are ripping money out of the hands of consumers by eliminating their jobs and not paying their people enough money because your employees are also the consumer base. It's a cyclical thing. So by not paying their employees well, which is investing in the economy itself, and therefore allowing the economy to organically just grow and grow and grow because everyone can make a living and everyone's making a profit. It may not be the biggest profit, but it's a profit, and everything just grows, and the billions still get made, and because nobody's in debt. It's a beautiful dream, isn't it? But because of this situation caused by poor money management, I'm, once again, guilty as the next guy. I'm working on my thing, and I'm working my ass off to get out of it. But between that and this shutdown, essentially you get the 1-2 punch, and the economy, though people say, oh, we've recovered from 2008. No, we haven't. Wages have not gone up that much. Maybe $3 an hour in the last 10 years. And I hate to say it, that's not enough to keep up with the cost of living, because the cost of living is increasing exponentially beyond the inflation rate. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to leave it, because if I keep going, I'm going to be rambling on. But in conclusion, we need to stop relying on debt to build our economy, and we need to also remember that we need to pay people a livable wage, no matter what the job. A livable wage for a single person. I'm not saying raise a family on McDonald's. A McDonald's worker should not be making $30-some an hour, $60,000 a year, and raising their family working full-time at McDonald's. They should be able to afford a one-bedroom apartment, the vehicle to get to work, their phone, have some savings, their utilities, food, all that stuff, if they're willing to work 40 hours a week without going into debt and needing payday loans, credit cards, and all that to make up the difference. Because horrible spending habits led to middle-class debt. Lower-class debt, which is even greater at sometimes, was created by low wages, and more people are falling out of the middle class into the lower class as wages continue to stagnate. Wages are starting to go up again, but not even close to enough. My last wage raise was only 2% with a 2.4% interest rate. Well, not interest rate, inflation rate, sorry. Inflation rate. That means my wage still went down. So, anyways, like I said before at the beginning of the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to support the channel and see more of these videos and allow me to do this full time and not have to go to my horrible job that I hate, and do something like this, which I actually enjoy doing but find hard time to do on a regular basis, between everything I'm trying to do with YouTube, the hustle trying to get out of debt, and the hustle of going to my full-time job every day. Please feel free to support me on the Patreon. As I get more patrons, I will be able to cut back on some of the other hustles and focus more on this and create more content for the Patreon rewards and get those tiers filled out with really good content. You can also join us here on this channel every Sunday night for the Overtime Podcast with me and my co-host Laura Quinting, who is also known as Food Makeup Skin. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little dive into how we got here. I know it wasn't the greatest. I know it's not the greatest input. I need to do more research. I need to do more editing on the side of the script. But I thought I need to actually make something. So I'm going to get this made, get this out there, and hopefully you guys enjoy where I'm going with this, and hopefully I can improve and get better videos and better videos and better videos as we go down the line. I'm no undoomed, I'm no bullshit, and I'm no Sinatra Says, but I think I have an important view to put out in the world. So I'm going to be doing more political and economic type videos as we move on, and I'm going to really start doing a lot of videos about Joe Biden and the election as that moves closer. So I will try to get this video up here, and then hopefully try to get another video done next week. My goal is going to be to do one of these videos a week, and on top of the 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe Let's Plays that I'm doing during the week over on Six Swing Gaming. Please go there and check that out and see if you enjoy my gaming content. Anyways, once again, I'm Tony Sixwing. I've rambled on enough. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay awesome. Bye now.